Is your perfect routine truly helping you, or is it quietly controlling your life? What used to feel like a healthy choice starts to feel like a strict requirement.
Missing a single session feels like a moral failure.
Your pursuit of health literally builds a prison around you.
The isolation it causes is what's truly heartbreaking.
What is driving us to this level of perfectionism in the first place?
What does real health look like in practice?
Have you ever met someone who does, absolutely everything right?
Oh, yeah. Like the people who are just totally dialed in.
Exactly. I mean, they eat perfectly clean, they track every single macro down to the gram, and they never ever skip a workout.
Right. Their whole daily routine is this hyper optimized schedule.
Yeah, with the supplements, the red light therapy, the perfectly timed sleep cycles. But then, if you really look closely at them, they're just perpetually exhausted.
And anxious. It's an incredibly jarring paradox.
It really is. Like, despite all that relentless optimization, they actually seem less healthy than ever.
They look like the absolute picture of human discipline from the outside, but internally they are just running on fumes.
And that paradox is exactly what we're exploring today.
Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in. We are absolutely thrilled to have you here. If you find value in our episodes, please take a second to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us reach more people.
It absolutely does. Welcome to the Living Better podcast. As we always say around here, living longer is a science, living better is a choice.
And today we are really unpacking that choice because we are looking at how the pursuit of health might actually be making you sick.
Right. This episode is for educational purposes only, so always consult a healthcare professional for actual medical advice.
Right, of course.
So I want you to ask yourself a really honest question as we start this episode. Is your perfect routine truly helping you, or is it quietly controlling your life?
We have to start by looking at the psychological shift that happens here because, nobody starts this journey wanting to be miserable.
Oh, of course not. It begins with incredibly good intentions.
Exactly. You want more energy, you want to feel better in your body, so you start paying attention. But it slowly, almost imperceptibly morphs into an obsession.
And taking care of your body is undeniably important. We are definitely not suggesting you abandon your fitness and just, live on the couch.
Right, no one is saying that.
But there's this invisible line that people cross without even realizing it. Because initially, engaging with your health feels amazing, it's empowering.
It really is. You start tracking your meals, you measure your progress, you optimize your schedule, and your brain rewards you.
Yeah, you get that little dopamine hit when you check off a workout.
Or when you nail your protein goal for the day, it feels like you are finally taking charge.
It feels like a win.
But human psychology is tricky. That dopamine loop eventually downregulates. The baseline shifts.
So what used to feel like a healthy choice starts to feel like a strict requirement.
Exactly. The dynamic shifts completely from empowerment to control. The underlying motivation just flips.
So, what does that flip actually look like when you're living it day to day?
Well, it looks like an entirely fear-based approach to wellness. You no longer eat for energy or nourishment. You eat entirely to avoid feeling guilt.
Wow, yeah, that's a huge distinction.
And you don't work out to feel strong or capable anymore. You work out because missing a single session feels like a moral failure.
You reach a point where you stop actually living your life and you start merely managing it. Let me throw this directly to you, the person listening right now. When was the last time you ate something just because you wanted to, without overthinking it?
That's a tough question for a lot of people.
Right. Just genuinely enjoying a piece of food without mentally calculating the glycemic load or wondering if it fits into your daily allowances.
Or stressing about whether it's going to ruin your progress.
For many people deeply entrenched in wellness culture, the honest answer is, I literally cannot remember.
And there is a clinical term for this pattern now. It is called orthorexia.
Orthorexia.
Yeah, and while it may not be in every single diagnostic manual just yet, the psychological and physical impacts are incredibly real. It's defined as the obsessive pursuit of a pure or perfect diet.
And it usually starts harmlessly enough, right? Like maybe you cut out ultra-processed foods,
Yeah.
which makes total sense.
Sure, it's a great start.
Yeah.
But then it escalates. You cut out gluten, then dairy, then all sugar.
Then anything that isn't organic, it escalates into this intense guilt over any meal that is deemed imperfect or tainted.
The isolation it causes is what's truly heartbreaking. People start avoiding their friends.
They skip dinners, they turn down social events, weddings, birthdays.
Why? Because they are terrified of the menu. They go to a restaurant and feel the need to, interrogate the waiter about what kind of oil the vegetables were cooked in.
Imagine desperately wanting to be healthy, but your pursuit of health literally builds a prison around you.
It's a really dark place to be.
I think about it like a rigid software program.
How do you mean?
Like, you write this flawless, incredibly optimized code to run your day, but it's so inflexible that even a minor deviation causes a total system crash.
Yes, exactly.
Like a tiny unexpected input, say a friend offering you a slice of pizza on a Friday night, and you just don't know how to process it.
The system just fails.
And I have to ask, is that still health? Or is that just a sophisticated form of anxiety disguised as discipline?
Oh, it's absolutely anxiety. And the brutal irony is that from the outside, you look incredibly disciplined.
People praise your willpower. They say, oh, I wish I had your dedication.
But from the inside, you are rigid, you are fragile, and you are deeply, deeply exhausted.
But this psychological isolation doesn't just stay in your head, right?
No, it doesn't.
When your brain is constantly agonizing over imperfect food, it triggers a physical cascade. And this brings us to the actual biological cost of what we're talking about today.
Because the reality is, what happens in your mind directly and measurably alters your physiology.
Your body doesn't just react to what you eat. It reacts to how you feel about what you eat.
That is the critical science here.
Okay, wait, let me unpack this. I need to push back on that a little bit.
Sure, go ahead.
Because we all know cortisol is the stress hormone, but it's an evolutionary response to actual danger, like running from a bear or avoiding a physical threat.
Right.
Are you telling me the brain actually reacts the exact same way to eating a non-organic strawberry as it does to a bear attack? That sounds like a massive exaggeration.
It sounds wild, I know. But neurologically, the brain doesn't distinguish between physical survival threats and intense psychological threats.
Really? It can't tell the difference?
No. If your belief system says, this non-organic strawberry is toxic and will derail my health, your brain interprets that as a threat to your safety.
Wow.
It activates the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, and floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline.
So your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response, completely takes over.
Exactly.
Okay, so the brain sounds the alarm, but how does that actually negate the physical benefits of the food?
This is where the mechanisms are just fascinating. Digestion is a parasympathetic process.
Like the phrase rest and digest.
Yes, exactly. For your body to absorb nutrients, your vagus nerve needs to signal that you are safe.
Okay,
When you are stressed, even about the food itself, your body thinks it's preparing for battle. So it literally diverts blood flow away from your gastrointestinal tract.
it pushes it out to your extremities so you can fight or run. So your stomach acid drops, your gut motility slows down.
So digestive enzymes decrease. You could be eating the absolute perfect, most nutrient-dense wild-caught salmon on the planet.
But if I'm quietly freaking out because I'm not sure if the pan was coated in a seed oil,
Because you are in a state of hyperarousal and fear, your body cannot properly break down and assimilate those nutrients.
you are physically impairing your own digestion through the anxiety of trying to eat perfectly.
That's exactly what's happening.
That is mind-blowing. So even if the intention behind the stress is, I want to be as healthy as possible, the physical body just reads it as, I am under attack.
Yes, and we have to differentiate between acute stress and chronic stress here.
Right. Because some stress is good for you.
Exactly. An acute stressor like a tough workout or a cold plunge is hormetic. It's a brief spike in cortisol that your body recovers from and grows stronger.
But this wellness anxiety, this orthorexic perfectionism,
That is chronic, low-grade, constant stress.
And the research shows the long-term effects of constantly elevated cortisol are devastating.
Oh, absolutely. It destroys gut permeability, leading to leaky gut.
It causes massive hormone imbalances,
Mm.
tanking testosterone and disrupting menstrual cycles.
It leads to systemic inflammation. It ruins your sleep architecture, which cascades into poor cognition.
And crucially, it suppresses your immune function.
So here's the ultimate paradox. You can eat perfectly, you can train consistently, and you can follow every single rule to the letter.
But if your nervous system is stuck in chronic fight or flight mode, you are actively damaging your health.
You're fighting a war that doesn't exist, and your own body is taking the collateral damage.
The biological stress response ends up completely overriding the nutritional or physical benefits you were trying to gain.
The body simply does not respond well to fear, even when that fear is beautifully disguised as strict discipline.
That is so wild to think about. Okay, so we have this biological trap, but we don't live in a vacuum.
No, we don't.
We have to look at what in our modern environment is accelerating this. What is driving us to this level of perfectionism in the first place?
Because, 50 years ago, people weren't stressing over the exact macronutrient breakdown of their dinner.
Exactly. So what's the gasoline on this fire?
The modern amplifiers are screens and data. Social media is the obvious one, but it acts like a funhouse mirror.
It completely distorts our baseline for what is normal.
It really does. You open your phone, and the algorithm is actively selecting for the most extreme, visually striking lifestyles.
You see perfectly curated routines, flawlessly macro-balanced diets.
Intense morning rituals involving ice baths, journaling, and sunlight viewing before 6 a.m.
And it makes an incredibly extreme, highly restrictive lifestyle look like the bare minimum requirement to be a healthy human.
But what the funhouse mirror hides is the reality behind the camera. It hides the anxiety.
It hides the social isolation required to keep those abs visible year-round.
It hides the sheer exhaustion and the absolute mental breakdown the influencer had when they couldn't find a clean option in the airport.
And as you're scrolling, this instantly triggers the brain's comparison trap. Your brain is silently telling you, look at them. You are not doing enough.
So the response is to push harder. You restrict more. You try to optimize every second.
But the other massive amplifier here isn't just social media. It's the wearable technology on our wrists.
Right, the tracking devices. And this brings up a really vital distinction between awareness and hypervigilance.
That's a great point. Because in the wellness space, we constantly confuse the two. Let's break that down.
Sure.
Because I think a lot of people assume that tracking their sleep score every night is just being aware of their health.
Awareness is gentle. It's an internal check-in. It's waking up and simply noting, I notice how my body feels today. I feel a bit tired.
It's curious.
Exactly. Hypervigilance, on the other hand, is an anxious external state. It is the feeling of constantly scanning your environment or your data to find out what is wrong.
And modern tracking traps us entirely in that state of hypervigilance. We have sleep trackers, continuous glucose monitors, apps counting every calorie, measuring every macro.
Watch is buzzing if we sit too long.
Yeah.
We have completely outsourced our bodily intuition to algorithms.
And in this hypervigilant state, every single bodily fluctuation is seen as a problem to be fixed.
It actually creates what doctors are now calling a nocebo effect.
Wait, explain the nocebo effect in this context. I know placebo, but what's nocebo?
It's the exact opposite of a placebo. A placebo is when a fake intervention makes you feel better because you believe it will.
Right.
A nocebo is when a negative expectation actually manifests negative symptoms.
Okay, give me an example with the trackers.
So you wake up feeling completely fine, you feel rested, but then you look at your wearable and it says your sleep score was a 42 and your recovery is in the red.
Oh, wow. And suddenly you feel exhausted.
Exactly. Your brain sees that data, assumes it must be true, and actually generates the feeling of fatigue and anxiety.
Even though you felt fine before you looked at the screen.
Right. If your sleep score drops, Your whole day is ruined before it even begins.
It's like driving a car while exclusively staring at the dashboard and the check engine light.
That's a perfect analogy.
If you are entirely focused on the metrics, if you never look up at the road, you're eventually going to crash.
The irony is so thick. Tracking more data ends up creating significantly more stress than it prevents.
So I want to prompt you, the listener, to really reflect on this right now. Does your routine actually make you feel better, or does it just make you feel more controlled?
That is the core question. Because if we recognize that we are trapped in this hypervigilant state, we need to figure out how to dismantle this prison of perfection.
We need to completely redefine what real health actually looks like and rebuild a sustainable relationship with our bodies.
So if perfection is actually detrimental to our physiology, what is the goal? What does real health look like in practice?
Well, real health is defined by flexibility. It is the physiological and psychological ability to bend without breaking.
I love that. Bending without breaking.
There's an ultimate equation here from the source material. Real health equals mental ease plus emotional balance plus social connection.
Because you can have the perfect diet, but if you feel miserable and isolated, it isn't really health.
So how do we get there? If flexibility is the goal, how do we actually unlearn this strictness?
It's not easy.
I mean, if someone listening has been meticulously weighing their chicken breast for 5 years, they can't just flip a switch and stop caring.
No, it's a gradual process of unlearning, and we have 4 actionable steps to start shifting that mindset.
Step 1.
It starts with a shift in your primary metric. You have to stop chasing perfect and start chasing sustainable.
That is the absolute foundation. If the habit itself is chronically stressing you out, it is not a healthy habit for you.
It's really that simple.
So if tracking your macros causes you anxiety every time you sit down to eat, the tracking is doing more physiological damage than the perfect macros are doing good.
Exactly. The stress response negates the benefit. So the next phase, step 2, is deliberately reintroducing flexibility.
You have to purposefully break your own rules occasionally.
Yes, to prove to your nervous system that you are actually safe.
What does that look like practically?
It means eating a healthy, nutrient-dense meal, but then also having a slice of birthday cake at a party and actively treating that moment as a victory of freedom rather than a failure of discipline.
Oh, I see. You have to rewire how your brain perceives a deviation from the plan.
You are teaching your body that it is resilient.
That makes a lot of sense. You're basically exposing yourself to the fear of imperfect food in a safe environment, which calms the nervous system down.
Right. And as you do that, you move to step 3. You pay attention to your stress, not just your habits.
You have to keep asking yourself, is this routine serving my life or is it controlling my life?
You check in with your nervous system, not just your checklist.
Which brings us to the final step. Step 4, reconnecting with your body through sensation, not numbers. But I have a really deep question about this.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've completely gamified our biology with all these metrics and screens. How do we ungamify our lives?
It's tough.
How do we actually learn to trust our own basic sensations like hunger and tiredness after years of letting a screen dictate how we supposedly feel?
It's a great question, and it's challenging. You rebuild that intuition through small moments of intentional disconnection.
Like what?
It means taking the wearable off for a single workout and just feeling your muscles move. Paying attention to your breath instead of your heart rate zone.
Eating a meal without logging it in an app and just stopping when you actually feel full.
Exactly. It's about tuning into your natural energy and mood, remembering that your body actually knows how to communicate with you.
It has millions of years of evolutionary engineering designed to tell you when it needs food, when it needs movement, and when it needs rest.
You just have to quiet the external data enough to actually hear it.
And you don't have to change everything overnight. Even small steps, like leaving your fitness tracker on the charger for one weekend, create huge shifts in your mental ease.
Health was always meant to support your wonderful, messy life. It was never meant to entirely consume it.
So what does this all mean for us moving forward? I think the core message here is profound. A healthy body without a peaceful mind isn't really health at all.
Health was never meant to be a fight against yourself.
It's so easy to forget that when we're bombarded with the exact opposite message from every screen we own, we're told that health is a battle, an endless grind of optimization.
Exactly.
And I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over today, something to carry with you after this audio stops playing.
Think back to that person we talked about at the very beginning, the one doing everything right.
Tracking every metric, hitting every workout, but feeling completely exhausted and anxious inside.
Maybe the real question we need to be asking ourselves isn't, am I doing enough to be healthy?
But rather, is my pursuit of health actually costing me my peace?
Such a powerful reframe.
If this episode made you rethink your relationship with health, or if you had an aha moment today, please share it with someone in your life who really needs to hear it.
We all know someone who is currently trapped in that cycle of wellness perfectionism.
And if you're trying to live better and not just more controlled, make sure you subscribe to the Living Better podcast.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us today.
We'll see you in the next episode.